Hello, and welcome to the Flow State presented by the Bluntness. I'm your host, coming to you from New York City, Taylor, and today we have a very special guest here with us. Christina DiPaci is founder and CEO of Paradiso Gardens, one of the largest independent craft cannabis farms in California. Well-versed in the cannabis trade for over 10 years now, Christina does it all from compliance to finance, while also having a hand in strain selection, packaging design, and brand development. Christina, thank you so much for being here today. Can you let us know where you're coming from?
Thank you for having me. I'm coming from Big Sur, California.
Very nice. Yes, looks much sunnier and warmer than it is here in New York. All right, so just to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about your personal experience getting into cannabis?
Absolutely. Well, so I started smoking at a fairly young age, and that kind of opened the doors, as they say, it's a gateway drug. But it opened the doors to me realizing it's a really friendly type of drug, right? And so I got more curious and continued up the supply chain and realized there's a lot of really diverse and interesting people involved with this drug and this plant. And so we kind of went all the way back and started about a decade ago a farm up in Humboldt, and we started with cultivation. And so, and still to this day, our primary focus is cultivation.
Nice. And why the focus on cultivation?
Personally, I love plants. And so I think it's the most interesting and fun part of the project to work with. It's ever changing, and especially getting to choose different strains and how it goes. But, every crop is slightly different, and it's just this really beautiful learning process.
Yeah, definitely. So what exactly do you do at Paradiso Gardens?
What don't I do? I think is a better question.
All right, let's start there.
So we're fairly large scale. So we have a little more than 100 people on our team. And so we have a pretty robust nursery operation. We harvest every 2 weeks. And so we're transplanting, we're moving plants, and we're harvesting every 2 weeks. We're drying. We have a on-site packaging team as well as a pre-roll team. And in addition to that, we do sales and accounting and marketing and things. And so I'm involved with, all of those processes. And so I like to, have a hand in everything, and but just let the team do what they do best.
Nice. All right. Well, if you are ready, we're going to go through 10 minutes of flash questions. So you'll have 60 seconds to answer each question, and they're all just about cannabis, the industry. So if you're ready, we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. All right. What is one cannabis product that you can't live without?
Rose edibles. I think that they're the best edible on the market, and also just in general, they're phenomenal and delicious.
Ooh, okay. Why would you say they're the best?
They're produced pretty small batch, and they're produced with the really creative flavors that have a hand. They partner with the different chefs each time. They're very small batch, and so it's like organic blueberries from the farmer's market made with something else. And then the input material, it's just pressed flower. And so they use it creates rosin. And so it's like this wonderful, well-rounded high because it's not made with distillate. And I think that they're just incredible.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Nice. Okay. What is some advice you would give to someone for marketing their cannabis product?
Be creative and be prepared to have a lot of non-cannabis merchandise. it's often really challenging to find spaces that you can either sample or consume cannabis in public spaces and get it into the hands of consumers. And so if you have these non-cannabis items, they're often much easier to become involved with events and other collaborations. And then, yeah, be as creative as possible, because it's very challenging.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice with non-cannabis products. I never would have thought of that before, but that makes a lot of sense. All right, what are your thoughts on cannabis during work hours?
Oh, I think each person's very different. And so as long as you are, at a certain level of professionalism and a certain level of productivity and you're getting your job done, I don't have any problems with that at all. Yeah. I think it's like, but sometimes it does, some people can't do it, especially like depending on your job. I think like accountants, it's really hard to like get pretty stoned because you're working with numbers and calculations, and it's like a little bit too much. But there's certain jobs that really lend itself well to it, such as like our brand ambassadors and things like that.
Right. Yeah. Or jobs that require a lot of creativity. Cool. All right. What is the most surprising thing that you learned or experienced when you first began working in the industry?
I don't know. I think I thought governments kind of had it more together, but I realized that nobody knows anything. And so when I first started working in the industry, it's been an educational process for both, I think, operators and government on like learning each other's industries and how they work and how to communicate and how to get things kind of done.
Yeah, no, you're definitely not the first one to say that they assumed the government would have their shit more together than it is, but crazy assumption. Okay, what is the first thing you tell people who are afraid of cannabis or have never tried it before?
Oh, to start very small. Start with a quarter puff. Start with something that you can really have a conversation internally and feel the effects without going over the edge. I think that's the most important thing. You often hear stories of people who take edibles and, are stoned for 20 hours plus and like, are in a coma. Or even where you get too stoned and you get paranoid and antisocial. And I think it's just important to like understand that most people have a really low threshold, and there's a beautiful state where if you just take one quarter puff, you can have a great day and experience the effects of it.
Yeah, very true. I think people try to go overboard too quickly. What about somebody who wants to work in the cannabis industry? What is the first piece of advice you would give to them?
Oh my God, I have no idea. I would say be prepared to jump around. I think like there's often this idea that a certain job would be, really fun, but then because of the complexity in dealing with regulations and production and supply chain throughout the industry, it's often like you find these new types of jobs pop up. And so we're always moving people around into being like, wow, you actually like doing this. Here you go. Now you're just going to make labels all day. But that's like right up people's alley. And so I think, people often have this idea of like, oh, I want to be a bud tender, or I want to be a cultivator, or I want to be a trimmer, whatever. But there's all these other jobs that aren't necessarily very apparent that are like super kind of interesting and fulfilling. And so yeah, it's like keep an open mind. Choose a good company.
Yeah, definitely. That is important. All right. What about Cannabis Media? Do you have a favorite blog, book, podcast, YouTube channel? You don't have to say this one.
It's embarrassing. I really like Blacklist on Instagram. That's one of my favorites. it's just so all over the place and outlandish. And I think it's really very quickly brought a lot of different types of people in the industry, you know, both who are either operators on the white market or operators on the black market, but also like bud tenders and like just connoisseurs. It's brought like this really interesting mix of people together, and it's been really popular very quickly.
Yeah.
So I really like it.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent choice. What about a personal cannabis hero? Do you have someone in the industry that you really look up to?
Ooh, that's a good question. I really look up to our lawyer. I think, you know, I don't know. I think there's also, we're distributed by Kiva Sales and Services, and I've always looked up to Christy, who like, you know, her and her husband run Kiva,
Yeah.
and they've just done such an amazing job from like day one of trying to create a beautifully designed product that's consistent, that delivers, has great customer service, you know, like they're in shops. They've just done such an amazing job with their product that was like, you want to distribute us, please, and thank you. But yeah, so I think Christy from Kiva and our lawyer.
Yeah. Good selection. Very inspirational. What about your personal favorite method of consuming cannabis?
I love edibles, and we don't make any edibles. So most of the time I'm eating rose edibles, but I also eat Lost Farm and Caminos, which are made by Kiva.
Very quality.
Those are my favorites.
Yeah, those are great. Do you have any plans to add edibles to the menu?
Yeah, we're super excited. We're in an R&D phase right now, and we're planning on launching them in the spring of 2020.
Oh, that's really exciting. Cool. All right. Well, last flash question. Tell me about the first time you tried cannabis.
Oh my God. The first time I tried cannabis, I was probably 12 years old, and I was at my friend Maya's house, and it was two of my other girlfriends were there, and it was Jane and Anna, and I had just made all these new friends. I was in Catholic school previously, and so it was this kind of really exploratory and curious thing. And I want to say we were trying to like roll, and we couldn't roll. And then we tried to like make a pipe out of aluminum foil, and that didn't work out great. And then we like, you know, bonked an aluminum can and poked a hole through it. And it was really, I mean, it sounds crazy because it was like smoking out of a can, but you know, I think it was also really cute.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think we're adorable.
That's very adorable. And actually, funnily enough, recently I was like in a bind where I had weed and I didn't have anything to smoke it with. And so I had made it out of a can, like, and I was like, I haven't done this since I was probably 13 or 14, but it's always there. It's reliable, you know?
Exactly. You can always find a can.
Or an apple, whatever. All right. Awesome, Christina. Well, those are all the questions I had for you. Besides the edibles coming out next spring, are there any other new projects or goals that you're working on at the moment?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. We're working on expanding more of our flower line as we try to develop these other ancillary products. And so we're doing edibles in the summer of 2020. We're doing a topical line, which has always been my dream to have a, you know, weed sunscreen. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, we're just expanding our brand and continuing to engage with consumers in creative ways. And we're very excited about it.
That sounds awesome. I can't wait to see all the new products. All right.
Yeah.
Is there, actually, can you let everyone know where we can find you online?
Absolutely. You can find us online at paradisogardens.com. We have a store locator there. And so we're distributed throughout the state of California. So you can find your local dispensary. And you can also find us on Instagram at paradiso.gardens.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Christina. So you have been listening to The Flow State presented by The Bluntness. Thank you so much for joining us today. Feel free to give us a review, a like, or share with your followers. And for more bluntness in your life, you can find us on social media or directly at the source at thebluntness.com.